The following is a presentation of Project Independence and WCWP. Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead.
Welcome to Project Independence and You.
Good morning and welcome to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host and producer, Kristina Liu, along with my co-host, Otto Lowe's. Otto is a longtime volunteer, supporter, and friend over at Project Independence. Welcome, Otto. Thank you for joining me again.
Beautiful day.
And this morning, we are talking to Eva Shtein, who is one of the founders and facilitators of the Story Round. The Story Round is a creative writing workshops for seniors. So we'll dive into that. We're lucky to be partnered with you, Eva. So thank you for joining us.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, we're glad to have you. So Eva, I mean, we were so excited. This was probably, I don't know how many months ago. It seems like forever. Time flies. That we had you and Jennifer Albertson, who unfortunately couldn't join us today. Tell us just what is the Story Round?
Jen and I got to talking about a year and a half ago, and we just realized that and discovered that there was just a lack of interactive programming for our vibrant senior community, you know, in Port and around. Jen and I are both Port residents, but of course we've been in the Nassau area for a very long time. We both grew up in the area. So, you know, we just thought that there was this need for connecting with our community and engaging with the seniors in our community. So we started talking about how could we do that. We are both educators. We have 30 years of experience between the two of us, ages 0 to 99. And, you know, this is what we came up with, and it's still growing and developing in many ways.
That's great. Otto, you look like you're about to say so. Otto's going to have a whole list of fabulous questions for you.
I can't wait.
Well, I'm one of the seniors that you're talking about, I think, qualified. And I'm, as they know here, I'm a big proponent of seniors documenting history for their family. And that could be in the form of a family tree, or I have a thing called Hodgepodge, which is a multiple page booklet that I put together.
That looks
I wish
exciting.
I had the ability to take your workshops prior to starting this, because just as the name is, Hodgepodge, that's exactly what it is.
Well, the truth of the matter is that at any stage, you know, our classes are so diverse, and we cater and build classes around the needs of our community and the classes that we engage in. So the stage, your writing stage, it doesn't really matter what stage you are in. You can be a total beginner, you've never written a thing, or you are a semi-professional, even professional writers who publish work, take our classes at points. And, you know, we also our mission is centered in the strong belief that preserving these stories with the older generation, having this intergenerational bond and connection is so important and valuable to the families, but it's also so valuable to society. You know, the world is changing so quickly. I'm sure you guys can see with AI and whatever, but these stories are so extremely valuable. Jen and I ask ourselves all the time, you know, how can we continue to seize, continue to grasp at this knowledge and this detail that is quickly dwindling away?
Well, it's an interesting exercise. I started when I first semi-retired, and I think when you're younger and you're going through the hustle and bustle of life, you don't really think to ask people who are here that it won't be here when you get to the point where you're ready to ask them some questions. Well, they won't be here then. So my goal was having not known any of my grandparents because they were either in another country, or in one case we didn't even know who the person was, to try to answer questions for people that they might want to ask 20 years from now when I'm not here. So that was my thought when I went through this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, we are so interested in these journeys. Some of the stories that come out from our seniors are so introspective and bring you back to such surprising moments. We had a woman talk to us about being the first woman on the stock market floor. I mean, my mind was just blown away. I wanted to hear that story so much, and it's just missing from being documented. So, it just feels like so many stories are missing, and these journeys are so valuable to learn from. So Jen and I really want and love to engage. We're delighted, we're motivated to engage with the senior community. It's just been such a rewarding time for us.
Now, looking at your material, you have a whole bunch of different approaches, different workshops.
Yes.
How about we take a little walkthrough on what they are and how they vary, and
Sure.
why would I want to do one versus the other?
So we have our memory poem workshop, which is an introductory, complete introductory workshop. If you are a novice, you will feel very comfortable because we slowly guide you through some poems that have a reflective theme, and ask the writer to look at their own situations that are that they can reflect upon. We ask very guided questions to get our writers there. And when they are writing, responding to those reflective questions, we meet with them one-on-one to talk about where it is that they would like to go and how they would like to tell these stories, so that there is a very unique and individual approach. Jen and I are, like I said, both professional educators, and we just have this way of building rapport very quickly with our participants. So I think that most people find us pretty approachable and easy to talk to. And Jen especially is just able to get, with her questioning technique, is able to get people to just talk about things they didn't even know they wanted to talk about. It's really this really very special skill about her that she brings out. So that's like our introductory workshop that we don't require it, of course, but we do ask people if it's possible to take that one first.
So now, Eva, is that the course that you're doing in collaboration with us? The memory poetry workshop? Is this?
We are, but we've actually tweaked it a tiny little bit. We wanted to focus on holiday memories specifically. With the holidays coming up, so much comes up for everyone, but especially our seniors with family all over the place. They have such core memories that need to be written about, and these family stories are also just so important to their narrative and relatable for everybody else. So there's a sense of building community around Thanksgiving, around Hanukkah, around Christmas, around Kwanzaa, all of these holidays that we really put ourselves together at the same table. And we want to hear those family stories or those memories of holidays that feel important to our writers. So we're just tweaking that a little bit for you guys. And like I said earlier on, we try to encapsulate everything that's going on around us, and we try to program things that are both interactive and make sense for the community at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you just added something to my hodgepodge.
He's in the workshop right
Come
now.
to our workshop.
Yeah, I don't have anything really about holidays, so I'm going to add that.
That's
I
great.
got a lot of things to add, but, there is, if you really think about your life, there's an awful lot like I'm 88. I've gone through a few things in my life, and you try to remember the good, the ones where you learn something, maybe hopefully teach somebody else before they go into trouble. Don't learn the hard way.
Yeah, it's so important, and I love the intergenerational kind of passing it down to the next generation, and the fact that you and Jen are both teachers. You're in both these worlds now, which is really, I think, your ability to connect and to get someone to tell their story and how to just preserve that memory is so important, especially with the holidays. I mean, I think about my own holidays where cooking things that my grandma used to make. She's no longer with us, but that's something that every holiday we need to have her Greek special dishes, so these things I think are so nice to just keep passing down from generation to generation. So it's really a special gift for people.
Eva, the title is Introductory Memory Poetry. I have to admit to you that my poetry skills probably don't exist.
So when anyone hears poetry, anyone that is not a professional writer, but a professional writer too, usually the first thing that comes to mind is absolute and utter panic.
Yes.
But as I said, we have the experience to help our participants break everything down, and writing the poetry is not a requirement. The poetry we use as a tool. Because our sessions are, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes. We're so limited. We want to give our participants a chance to do some of the writing. And poetry is so conducive to quick conversations about themes that we often use poetry. And poetry has such rich language. So again, both of those things are just so conducive to hosting a session that's 45 minutes or, an hour, 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes. So that is why. But generally speaking, when our students, quote unquote, walk away, they feel much more confident in looking at poetry and even attempting to write it.
That's an interesting thing. I look back when I was back in school, and I didn't always understand poems, to be blunt about it, right? I mean, I'd read the poem and I'd say, okay. So I think this is almost a different wavelength that comes in there with poetry. No investigation or research knowledge on that. It's just from my own perspective that poetry and I somehow didn't click all the time.
Well, you know what? Now you could do a workshop and start something. I think with poetry too, you have to because I get it, right? You hear it and you're like, oh my God, poetry. Like, I'm not a poet, but I think that it's so up to interpretation and your own style. And I think that that's what's going to be so cool, is that people who think they could never do it, can be part of these workshops and walk out with a poem.
Yeah. And again, we don't limit our participants and say, like, you have to write a poem or else. Nothing.
That's not part of the workshop, Eva.
Or else. No, it's, we want to build groundwork for storytelling, having those intergenerational conversations. Kristina, you mentioned that we're in between these worlds. We really are. Jen and I are, not to admit our age. I'm sure she'll be very upset with me, but we're in our 40s, as good as we look. You
Yeah,
can't
right.
on the radio show, but we're in our 40s. And so, we have these aging parents who are wonderful and who have energy. And we're also with teenagers and tweens. And then we have our own children who are little. I still have one of my daughters is not even 7. And Jen has 2 little ones, one in kindergarten and one is only 3. So, we really feel being in between and how important it is to get all of those stories, as many as we can while we're able to, into our community. We really feel like it will build our community in Nassau and bring our seniors together, give them something to share with their families and have those moments, those conversations that we feel are so vital to families that there's no time to have right now. People are so busy, their kids are so busy, the grandkids are so busy, everybody has a million activities. So it's like if we can create small moments for people to share their stories, we feel like that's going to leave a huge impact on the community.
Well, you being a teacher, just a couple of days ago, I have one of my grandsons is 10 years old, and he calls me up, which is like a rarity, but he calls, and we have a good relationship. But using the phone is not what he does. Most 10-year-olds don't.
Right.
And the reason he called me was he had an assignment in school where he had to try to write about somebody in his family who was in the service. So he knew I was in the Navy.
Mhm.
We talked about my experience, and I don't know what he ended up doing. I'm supposed to get a copy of it, but that was an interesting thing, in that the school triggered, the idea of talking intergenerationally, if you will, to skip their own parents and gone right to the
Well, Otto, we're going to have to
grandparents.
find out how that goes. But after
Yeah.
the break, we're going to continue talking with Eva Shtein, who is one of the founders and facilitators at the Story Round. And we're talking all about the Story Round creative writing workshops for seniors. We'll be back.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
Welcome back to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host, Kristina Liu, along with my co-host, Otto Los. We're going to continue talking with Eva Shtein, who is one of the founders and facilitators at the Story Round. And we're just talking about creative writing workshops for seniors and the benefits, and we're trying to take some of the pressure off for people. It's not scary. It's really great way to express yourself, and has so many benefits. So let's jump right back in, Eva.
I just wanted to mention, you said scary, and I want to bring up that there is a joy and a euphoria that people don't really even know exists until they're able to sit and take a moment and reflect on very guided and specific prompts. I mean, we've had people leave our sessions at different places and say, I feel like I have just had a cathartic experience. And I really feel that because I write myself just for pleasure. There's such a joy in getting something out that's been sitting in there and you didn't even know that you needed to do that. So I feel like that we need to bring that joy out.
I have to admit that when I did this thing, it's a combination of a lot of things, but it's not finished. I have so many more things I want to add to it.
A hodgepodge.
I found it to be very enjoyable, but more important is my children, who are they're in their 50s, um, also enjoy it. Grandchildren, in most cases, too young yet, but a couple of them really enjoyed it. Um, so that's the pleasure. Besides your own pleasure, I think you're giving pleasure to other
Yeah.
people, which to me is important. But that's me.
Well, I agree, Otto, and I'm putting in I want my copy of the Hodgepodge as well. I'm sure it's jam-packed with so much wisdom, and I'm a firm believer in creativity and how it has so many benefits, just on your, obviously your memory and just your mental health, to get these things out. More and more we hear about journaling and how that helps so much. And I think that, it just, these programs that you are offering and the fact that you both are able to guide them, it's not like you're left to your own devices. It's nice to have someone kind of prompt you, and because it's hard, right? It's things that you might not even know are going on up there, or like an old memory that you haven't tapped into in so long. So I really want to just give a plug for us to anyone can sign up. We still have spots left. On Wednesday, November 6th, from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at Clinton G. Martin Park in New Hyde Park is the first session. Or you can join us on Friday, December 6th from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the Port Washington Adult Activity Center. And this is the Meritry Poetry Workshop. So the introductory, I really encourage people to do it. I think, listen, the holidays are coming up, and it's a great gift to give your family too.
Yeah, it's a wonderful gift. The other thing I just want to mention is a point about memory. We do all our work in a handwritten format. And Jen and I, before we, became a company, we spent a lot of time doing research on handwriting and how important handwriting is to cognitive memory, but also building and bringing back connections in your brain that are lacking. So especially for our seniors, I mean, this is the case for absolutely everybody. We've got neuroscientists in Tokyo and University of California and in France and elsewhere in the world, all saying the same thing, that handwriting is an extremely important, it's a vital skill that has a slew of cognitive benefits for everyone, that there are special connections that are built in the brain when your hand is required to put letters down on paper and make those shapes, and it forces different brain systems to work together to reproduce.
I didn't even think about that, but I totally, makes
That's
sense. Yeah.
another interesting topic.
Mhm.
Back in my early school days, we had inkwells, and with the inkwell, each desk had an inkwell, and you used this pen that had a point on it, or a piece of wood with a point on it, and you'd have to dip it in the inkwell and write. The net result of that was another traumatic thing for me in terms of handwriting. Handwriting with that kind of technology wasn't easy. Like, I watch some of these old movies when they have the quill and they're writing. I mean, and they used to write gorgeously with the script years ago. But I now print. But it's an interesting comment you bring up, that handwriting, it really does, it is different than keying in something.
Absolutely. I just have for you guys just some background of what we did. We have neuroscientist Kiyoshi Sakai, who's a University of Tokyo neuroscientist and has been doing the research on this for years, who says that increased activity in the hypothalamus and in other areas of the brain not engaged in any other way than through handwriting provides you to make core memory connections. And Ramesh Balsubramanian at University of California, says that the cognitive benefits of handwriting are unmatched to any other skill that we do. Jen, I wish Jen were here because she is a literacy specialist and she will attest to, she would do a much better job than me, but she will attest to the fact that early handwriting in children is one of the most important cognitive skills for every other learning mechanism that they can ever have. So we're bringing back handwriting.
Yeah, that's so, because I'm just sitting here thinking like that's,
Well, what's interesting
all the
about
things that you
that
do.
is that the current generation and a lot of previous ones will take notes on their phone,
Right.
as opposed to me,
Sure.
who's used to writing a note on a
Yeah.
piece of paper.
I mean, this is how you could tell that I'm in my 40s.
Yeah.
I
But
just
that's
picked
what's
up
so
a piece of paper
interesting. And
with my notes.
on a side note to this, like since you are, your other hat is, being a teacher, is that something that you've seen the impacts of, that kids aren't necessarily writing, with a pen and paper anymore, how that kind of translates? I mean, my brother, we're 9 years apart and I'm going to be 40. So he's like 31 and he can barely like sign his name, and it's
Can I
interesting.
tell you, it is a huge detriment. I've been teaching this is my 20th year coming up, and it is a huge detriment. If I could speak to somebody in education and they would listen, I would say, forget all this other stuff, all these other tools, bring back handwriting for these kids, and it's going to change the way they learn on a scale that I can't even describe. Again, I'm not a scientist, but this is anecdotal, but in the last 10 years, I'm not even talking about COVID. The students have learned, have stopped learning the ability to decode. And this is like across subject areas, math, science, all my colleagues will say the same thing. They have absolutely lost this ability. Jen and I both do a lot of handwriting in our classes against their will, against the students' will. It is the best thing to do for memory, the best. And so like with our seniors, obviously there are the benefits of bringing back those memories for us to be able to hear the stories, but also for their memory retention. I don't think that our seniors are getting enough practice in memory retention at this point. There are a lot of passive activities, there's nothing wrong with them, bingo, movies, that's all great. Going to a show, listening to music, that's wonderful. I have nothing against all those things, but I always wish that there would be a follow-up reflective piece where they're writing, engaging, talking to each other about it, and then reflecting, because those are the ways that the connections will stay and hold on to those memories better.
That's very interesting.
I think we got our golden nugget.
Well,
of
like
the day.
I have a pad, but I also have a phone and I'm technically pretty literate. And, when I write my hodgepodge, I will scribble thoughts and then put them in to the computer. But I'll do my brain work away from a computer and just scribble little thoughts on what I might want to cover. I don't have to write it in perfect form, but I can put the thoughts down and then apply them technically or mechanically.
Yeah, but I think it's so true. And I never really thought about that, when you're writing something, it's so much more of a personal thing when you're writing it with a pen, on a piece of paper, than as opposed to typing. We're just so ingrained in this world to automatically do that. And especially when you're so young. I mean, my friends' children come out, swiping an iPhone, it's incredible.
Well,
But
thumbing it.
yeah,
I haven't mastered the thumb.
It's all right, little by little. But I think that that's a really great, we say in the show golden nuggets, and I think you gave us, our listeners, a golden nugget to really do, because I always laugh with Otto because we both love a list, a handwritten list. We like
I
to
love a
cross
list.
it off.
I love a list. I love a list.
You can be part of our list club, Eva.
Yay.
It's just, there's nothing like having it. And I'll even write it down after I did it just to cross it out, be like, oh, I forgot to actually have that on my list. But there is something about doing that and connecting more in your brain, and something so silly, even with a list kind of thing, but it's just, it is different. And I never thought about having it actually handwritten. Very interesting.
Eva, you have on your website, I'm going to read it.
Sure.
Introductory memory poetry, personal essay workshop, nonfiction, writing your memoir, nonfiction, creative writing with Story Round Junior, 6 to 8 weeks, book club with Story Round Junior. Give us kind of just a overview of which of those would you, why would I go down one lane versus the other?
I think that writing and reading are a matched pair, that they need to be together. And in order to be a thoughtful, creative writer, you really need to be a reader as well. So we do our book clubs as well. We do our nonfiction text clubs as well, where there is a lot of conversation and reflective writing, and that will directly lead you into personal writing or fiction writing. And when you take one of those avenues, it is merely because you are interested in either writing nonfiction, memoir, story about your life, compiling what information you think is important to pass on, or you have a story to tell that you feel is really important, or you're really into the world of fiction and, you want to use your imagination to write pieces. So, after taking an introductory workshop, you would move on into any of those other avenues, depending very much on your interest.
That's an interesting, also golden nugget, in that what your reading habits might reflect on where you might be better at writing. Like, I'm not a particularly good nonfiction person. I have a problem with books that talk about how blue the sky is and this and that. I like to get to the point. Too much fluff in writing, to me, loses me. That's me. And I know that the fiction part, although I'm pretty good at figuring out who killed who on these murder shows.
I just think having someone there who is experienced and who knows what to ask and how to ask it is a vital, because you wouldn't go ahead and teach yourself calculus. I know I wouldn't. If that was a skill
definitely not on my list. Yes.
No. When I'm older and I'm retired, I really want to find the joy in math. I really do, but I wouldn't go and look for it somehow myself. I know that I would need a guide, and I would need someone who is very, very patient.
My daughter.
to help me, because I'm afraid. I am afraid of math the way that some people are afraid of poetry. And I know that there's so much good in it, and that it would help me to understand concepts that are way beyond me, but that I would love to learn if ever I'm retired.
Well, one of my daughters, as I mentioned offline, retired from Hicksville and taught math there for, I think, about 30 years. And she loves math. She just loves it. Everything she relates numbers to things.
All of life,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And those are the best people to go out to dinner with because they could get that check, figured out really. I love my math teacher friends. I'm like, you guys just tell me what I need to pay and we're good.
See, this is good though. We're getting rid of some of our traumas off our chest.
It's true. It's true.
We're having our very own workshop, I said right on the air. So great. But after the break, we're going to continue talking with Eva Shtein, who is the founder and facilitator of the Story Round and all about creative writing workshops for seniors and its benefits. You're listening to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host, Kristina Liu, and my co-host today is Otto Lowe's. And we're going to jump right back into talking with Eva Shtein, who is the founder and facilitator of the Story Round, about creative writing workshops for seniors and all of its benefits. So,
Hey guys.
Eva, before the break, we were talking about all the different workshops that you offer. And I know, obviously, you partner with us to do it. Do you provide these at local libraries? If somebody has their own group and they want you guys to do a workshop, how does all that work?
So we do partner with different people and community organizations in and around Port Washington. But like I said, I'm going to mention a few, but I do want to say, and I want everyone to know that we cater to our community. So even though some of the ones that you see on the website, they look like these are the only ones we offer. We really tailor them to be extremely specific. We did a 5-week course at Sands Point Preserve. It was nothing like what our courses are going to be with Town of North Hempstead. We have done courses at senior living facilities like the Bristol and the like, and they are completely different than the ones that we did with Sands Point. We're also working with Hearts, Port Washington. Do you guys know Hearts? They're a nonprofit that serve the arts, and we'll be working with them on a community project. We definitely do and can do private groups that kind of hire us for a class or a session of classes to serve as mediators for a book talk or mediators for some writing workshops. And yeah, again, like I said, they're very tailored to the community. Like Jen and I have really discovered that you have to address the need that is right there in front of you. So we will talk to the people that are there. We will get information as far as what they're looking for, what kind of writing do they want to do, what is their level of experience, things like that. And then we'll make our decision together. We'll have a planning meeting and we'll make our decision together. What are we going to provide? What service are we going to provide here? How are we going to do this so that it best suits their needs? It's very unique and tailored. I mean,
I think that that's what makes it so special of a program. And I'm glad that you really mentioned that, because I think when you're writing too, and it's obviously if something's more personal or you could relate to more, it's going to be easier for you to kind of get that out. So it's really a special part of your program. It's not just some cookie cutter situation. And what's the best contact number if an organization that's listening or a group to get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, they can call either one of us. We're 24/7, 516-474-9543. That's just the best way to reach us. We also are at thestoryround@gmail.com, and thestoryround.com is our website, and we can be reached through the website.
Eva, the funding, as I'm hearing this, is like you make an arrangement with the town of North Hempstead. They're the ones who finance the situation. And usually the actual participant is really not paying anything. Is that pretty much?
That is correct with the town of North Hempstead, although we also work privately. So we work with both for-profit and non-for-profit organizations. And similarly, we tailor our prices to the needs of the community. What is most important to us is building this community and having the community have these intergenerational conversations. So we are, because this is our passion, we can make our own decisions and it's our business. It's just Jen and I, we do, all the backbone work and all the front load work. So,
And you have a job.
Right.
and
And you're a teacher on top of it, right?
and we have children.
Yeah.
But
And a husband.
yeah, the husbands, by the way, are super helpful. And just shout out to the husbands for helping both of us so much in so many ways. I have to do that.
Right.
But because of that, we really are able to make decisions that make the most sense for not just for the company, but for the community.
Use the word company. It's interesting. I think I still do some consulting, and the ability to write in the business world could use a program like this in many cases. Everybody is, if they have to write anything serious, it's difficult for a lot of people. The quick email, the quick text, that kind of thinking. But if you get into heavy duty where you have to write a proposal for somebody where they're going to spend a lot of money, you better have a decent proposal. And the skill level I find is pretty weak in a lot of areas when it comes to writing. So anyhow, you don't do business, but there's a need.
It's absolutely lacking across the board. And as a society, our use of AI, I don't know if you've put anything into ChatGPT lately or Magic AI or any of those things. You'll notice that it will generate something that I would call a C- response. But for the general population, it's just the way that they are responding to things right now. And it's totally lacking in personality. It's lacking in amiability. It's lacking in everything unique. It feels robotic. But people are using it, and that is actually creating more of a problem with the writing.
Need a copy of that.
Yes, sure.
Interesting is we have this Pioneer, which is
Yes, I get that, Pioneer.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Yeah, I featured you guys in it, by the
Yes,
way.
we saw that. Thank you so much.
Did you get the new one?
Yes.
Yes, we've got the glossy cover. I wish I had mine so I could show it to you.
And the one where I have a thing in here that was done by AI?
Otto
Page.
actually put the AI skills to it to write an article on Facebook groups. And, we were always saying technology is great, right? It's on one hand, it's cool. He created a little cartoon, and for the novice article and just trying to get, it's just trying to give you some bullets. Okay, I can understand that. But I think that, when people are trying to use it now to write, scripts or books, you're right. It does lose some of that humanity and personality that makes those things so interesting usually.
Yeah, I mean, it's the nuance. It feels like it's missing, like you said, humanity. And I don't know if it's going to get better. I mean, I make this joke all the time, but I would like AI to do my laundry so that I could write.
There might be a robot coming out for that soon. Yeah.
I don't want it to write stories for me. I want those stories to feel flawed and unique and human. I don't want perfection because perfection is not what we are. So
I agree that this was written, and I had set it up on the top I've been wanting to try it, so I tried it. And I put in, okay, what are the benefits of a senior using Facebook for groups? I don't know if that has to be particularly creative.
Right.
It just has a couple thoughts, and okay, it looked like it worked. But I agree with you. If you're going to write anything that requires more feeling, like a family memoir thing, I wouldn't want AI to write my family memoir
Yeah.
as an example, or a book I'm going to read.
That's completely correct. I mean, I cannot agree more. It
How
should
does
be a
it work with
tool.
your children? Like, is that something that they're always bringing up, like when you're teaching them? Like, is this just a new
Every
world?
single moment of every day is is the conversation about how to use AI properly. And the children have absolutely no idea. They have no parameters. It feels like when the internet first came around, and there were no parameters. We were like, what do we do with this thing, And I think similarly with AI, we need some parameters. We need a better understanding of like what it does for us as a tool rather than taking over our creativity.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are times where, like looking back on my business life, uh, you know, create a price list for me, a format, and I look at it and okay, that looks pretty good. So I have a price list format. Uh, but if I want to give a proposal to somebody who's going to spend a couple of $1 million, I think I better think a little more about what the what the tech what the words are and why should they buy this, But I think you're right. I remember when the computer first came out, people had them in the closet, a lot of them, frankly, because they didn't know what to do with them. The apps didn't exist. I go back to the DOS days when it was like you had to almost understand Greek in order to do anything, and the apps weren't there. And I think that'll happen with AI. There'll be apps, if you will, where it makes a lot of sense to use it. And then there are times where it won't make sense. One of them is what you talked about. When you do handwriting, it makes you think. When you do AI, it doesn't make you think.
That's right.
You know,
It really doesn't. And just back to the point of handwriting for a moment. There are a few writers I'd like to highlight that I think people will recognize. There's, that really just continue to write using their hand. We've got Stephen King, who is a huge handwriting proponent. He's huge. Jen Egan, if anybody reads The New Yorker, she's been published there. Her Pulitzer Prize winner. A Visit from the Goon Squad. She writes all of her books, short stories by hand first. Neil Gaiman, who famously wrote Coraline, the children's, well, I don't know, sort of children's film, and American Gods, which was featured on Netflix a few years ago. But I mean, he's a famous horror writer as well. I mean, they're all handwriting proponents. They write everything by hand. And then, probably their assistant or somebody like that transfers it over to computer. But there, if ever you're interested in watching some of them talk about their writing, there are plenty of YouTube videos where they discuss what handwriting does for their writing process and how important they found it vital to generating the stories that they create for us to enjoy.
it's interesting. We're watching a show, Wolf Hall, if you've ever watched it. It's about the 1500s. It's on PBS. And in there's a lot of scenes where somebody is writing, and they're writing on parchment paper, I guess, with a quill. And I thought about how difficult it had to be for people who wrote way back then, but they did. And there's a lot of, thank God they did, because there's a lot of material that talks about the world back then, which I'm glad I didn't live in. You know,
Why do you like electricity and running water? Is that why?
they didn't have any of that. Or bathrooms.
Yeah. Indoor bathrooms.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of different things back then that weren't good.
Well, once again, I just want to remind anyone listening, once again, there's a few spots left. We're going to be doing in collaboration with the Story Around memory poetry workshops, and they'll be holiday centric. We got a little tidbit today. On Wednesday, November 6th, from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at Clinton G. Martin Park, and Friday, February 6th, from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. over at the Port Washington
Sorry.
Adult Activity Center.
Christina, sorry to interrupt you. You said February. December.
Oh my God, did I? December 6th. Wow, thank you for, I don't know where that came from, but thank you for that. Once again,
thinking ahead.
November 6th, December 6th. And you have to register for these programs because space is limited, but I do really like that it's around holiday time and you could have this to share with your family around or your friends or your senior group around the holidays. It's really nice. And hopefully we'll have this at our holiday party. We could have some of our residents, if they want to share their poems. So it's really exciting stuff. I'm excited about this initiative.
Me too. I mean, Jen and I are both really excited. We can't wait to meet all of our participants if they're listening right now. You know, we are so psyched. We're so ready to meet you, to help you generate your work and, you know, work together to bring forward these stories that you have to tell.
Now, Eva, is there a certain amount of people that the best kind of number for these groups, you know, like or you can kind of tailor it depending on how many people?
Yeah, we can totally tailor it. I mean, just from the teaching perspective, and there are two of us, we like 20, 15 to 20 for that individual attention and for time's sake, because we do a lot of internal sharing beforehand. So it's nice to hear all the voices that are willing to participate. And, that 15 to 20 number seems ideal, but of course, less has been incredible. We've done 5-person groups, we've done 30-person groups, and they've all had their own unique characteristics and have brought beautiful stories to life. So it doesn't really matter to us. We're very malleable. But yeah, that would be the answer.
Eva, I would like to go to one of these. Unfortunately, I can't make November 6th or December 6th. If I wanted to see like a schedule of where you might be, can I do that on your website or?
Yes, generally we have a calendar on our website. We're currently working on the calendar. So if you access the website and you don't see the calendar, just keep in mind that it is just Jen and I, and we are both hosting sessions and doing the website and planning all of our fun activities and doing all the things. So we are working on our calendar, but of course you can always reach out to us and say, hey, I can't make these 2 sessions. What's the next thing that I can go to? And we are so good at writing back.
Well, I mean, my view is like the holidays came up
right.
Even though I have done a fair amount of stuff, I think you can always learn something new. A golden nugget, as Kristina likes to put it.
I agree.
I wish I had somebody kickstart me in the beginning. Where you used the words in here somewhere. Your life, your style, and your narrative, how you do it. I really didn't think about style or narrative.
Well, Otto, you're going to have to go to one of the classes because we're at the end of our interview with Eva Shtein. I'd like to thank you so much, Eva.
Thank you, guys.
And everyone that tuned in today. You're listening to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio.